please welcome Mr. Robert Omblad.
That's where I joined Sea Org staff at Celebrity Center. Yvonne Jentz was the CEO, and she made a deal with LRH. He made a deal with her. You give me two people at least to replace, two quality people to replace the Class 8 CS. I was one of the people that was picked.
That's how you got to the ship.
That's how I got to the ship. I got to the ship by Yvonne Jentz making a deal with LRH. I went to LRH and I said, I found it. It's in the goddamn vents. And he said, and I showed it to him and he went, oh, that's fabulous. He said, look, let's do this. Let's call it the CSP, the Clean Ship Program.
Well, not only that, but let's put it this way. You are going down in history as the originator of that, because to this day, they still call it CSP, but they don't know that Robert Omblad was the actual source of this, not L. Ron Hubbard. You're the one who did it. So all of you out there who are ex-Scientologists or who are still on staff watching this program, you now found yourself another source of a Scientology name, and it's not L. Ron Hubbard. So now when you think CSP, you're going to think Robert Omblad.
When you want to blame all of that work on somebody, you blame it on me, not on LRH.
Listen, it goes on every week in every organization throughout the world. It's either Saturday morning or Sunday morning. And that's what you do in the morning. You clean your work area, your living quarters, and it's called CSP.
A few days after we started this thing, I was in charge. They put me in charge of it. And I had no idea what the hell that meant, because then I ran into Norman Starkey, who was the captain of the ship. Then all of a sudden I was senior to everybody.
Well, look at you. You're working with LRH. You must have become friendly with his family, because wasn't his whole family there, like Arthur and Quentin?
Yeah, everybody was there then. And so there was Diana and Suzette and Archie and Quentin and yes. And Suzette, and Mary Sue. And yeah, I got to know all of them. We all lived on the same floor. All the messengers knew me and I knew them. And so I got to know the entire family at that time.
You became pretty friendly with Diana Hubbard, did you not?
Yeah, well, you know, when the people I became familiar with at that time, you were one of them. This was the whole Pure program that we worked on, that you and I and Diana Hubbard. He put up 150 grand. I put up 100 grand. So we had $250,000, and $250,000 in '78 was a good chunk of money. That's when it is that I contacted Diana too, because she worked with us on this too. So this was the first time I recontacted Diana Hubbard. We rented a building, just a 2-year lease. I think it was about 6,000 square foot building.
Oh, I remember it. And it was a first class place. Anyway, so now let's continue on, because you brought up Diana Hubbard, and that goes a little further than this story here.
Yeah, then I got back in touch with Diana, who I knew from the ship and knew, of course, the whole family. So she was very trusting of me. Diana asked to meet over a subject that we agreed to keep totally secret. There was kind of like a mission wipeout. Diana asked us to come to dinner and keep this secret.
Go on, Bob.
So what Diana said, okay, look at what the meeting was about. And I knew a lot about it before the meeting, because we were good friends and saw each other pretty much almost every day. And she said, look, the David Miscavige, he's gone mad dog. And I need to do something about it. I called you here because Robert is a friend of mine. And Dave, you're an organizational person. You understand the church. You worked at Flag. We all know each other really well. What are we going to do about this? People are asking me, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this situation? So anyway, to make a fairly complicated story short, and that is that Diana and I, by ourselves, without Dave there, after this meeting, we cooked up this scheme. What she wanted me to do, or her to do too, but me to do the actual work, was to break into DM's office, and here's her words, and that was break into his office and find the crimes that he has committed and disclose them so he can get thrown out of the Sea Org before he creates too much of a goddamn problem for everyone, because he has a high authority position right now. And so anyway, that's started essentially a kind of cabal or laying the seeds for a revolution, but it was all centered around David Miscavige.
Right.
So the end result was, she said, look, maybe we can do, let's just break into the office and get the goddamn goods on the guy and get him thrown out of the Sea Org, right?
Yeah.
Let it come to fruition. Let the shit hit the fan. And then Diana will rise up and say, let's change this organization. I went back into session after that, and they squeezed out of me the plot to get the goods on Miscavige. Damn.
Yeah. Well, Bob, up until this point, I don't know if you know this, but David called me and told me that they uncovered this plot. So then actually Diana Hubbard had planned on taking over the church.
Why she wanted to take over was because of all of this political movement inside the church that had nothing to do with Scientology, nothing at all. It was about protecting the position of David Miscavige and other people that were at the top. They were protecting their position, their political position with LRH. And she said, this is ruining our organization.
What do you think, or what did Diane think would be the handling for this?
I need to have people that are on the outside cheering me to become, to solve the problems of this organization. And, putting on a billboard, let's have Diana as the new CEO or whatever it is of this organization. She might get up there and do something about it. Or to remove David Miscavige and put somebody else that's a kinder, gentler person in charge of the church. It happens all the time. If they were marching in the streets, Diana would show up and say, "Okay, I'll lead you," because she has been suffering. I mean, I've gotten various reports, none directly from her, about her suffering, inside of the organization. She's had to wear the black boots and the black coat and all of that shit. And, I'm sure that it was terrible for her, but she's very good politician inside of the organization. So she's a survivor in that sense,
Well, there's the story. You heard it here on Life After Scientology. It's absolutely an unbelievable story.